You're about to be given some very important information about the Prison Rape Elimination Act, also known as PREA. First, you should know that the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice, or the DJJ for short, has a very important mission that all staff work very hard to achieve. Our goal is to increase public safety by reducing juvenile crime. The way we do that is by helping you and your families through the many different services our agency provides. DJJ's mission to protect public safety includes you. DJJ must ensure that all of our detention and residential facilities are safe, and that includes making sure everyone is safe from any sexual misconduct. We do not tolerate any sexual abuse or sexual harassment. That means sexual behavior or any rude or insulting sexual comment of any kind. That is what this orientation is all about. This applies to staff members with other staff, staff with youth, or youth with youth. Everyone here has the right to be free from sexual abuse or harassment, no matter who you are or what brought you here. You will hear more about this in the video. Hearing or talking about these topics may make you feel uncomfortable. It is not our intention to make you feel anxious or afraid, but we need to discuss this so you understand what your rights are and that you know how our detention centers and residential programs plan to keep you safe. That is why everyone must participate in this orientation. In fact, a federal law called the Prison Rape Elimination Act, or PREA for short, requires that this information be given to every youth across the U.S. that are in juvenile justice programs. So, please pay attention, and if you have any questions at any time, this video can be stopped. There will also be time for questions at the end. Next, we are going to help you understand some important rights you have while under the custody and care of DJJ. A very important right you have is to be free from sexual abuse and sexual harassment. Both of these are types of sexual misconduct or wrongdoing. Make sure you completely understand what these terms mean before you leave your orientation. Let's start by discussing sexual abuse. Sexual abuse includes a range of behaviors from staff staring at you while you're undressing to forced sexual assault. This applies to youth abusing other youth and any staff, volunteer, or contractors abusing youth. Basically, it applies to anyone you'll be around while you're in the custody and care of the DJJ. Remember, to give consent means to agree or give permission. If there is no consent, it is abuse. Sexual abuse means if you do not want to participate, whether you say it aloud or not. If you feel forced to agree due to threats from the abuser. If you do not understand what is happening, or if you do not agree because you are asleep, unconscious, drugged, afraid, or feeling threatened. We want to make it very clear that the DJJ does not tolerate any type of sexual contact between youth, staff, volunteers, or any other employees. You may be thinking that if two youths agree to have sex together, that it is okay. It is not. It is against DJJ policy. This behavior, even when consensual, will result in consequences. To be clear, any and all sexual contact or intercourse between any staff member, volunteer, or contractor and a youth is illegal. It is against the law even when youth thinks he or she is agreeing to the sexual activity and thinks they are in a romantic relationship. The law says that a youth cannot, under any circumstances, agree to any sexual activity with a staff member. Sexual activity between a staff member and a youth can never truly be consensual. It is always illegal. If you and a staff member have sex or engage in sexual activity, it is considered sexual abuse and should always be reported. Other behaviors that are considered sexual abuse include any adult that presses his or her body against you or makes comments about how your body feels would be sexual abuse and illegal. It is also sexual abuse if a staff shows their genitals, buttocks, or breasts to youth. This is deliberate flashing and is against the law and should be reported. Staff that stares or looks suggestively at youth who is undressed, such as when taking a shower or during a medical appointment. This is called voyeurism and is an act of watching for sexual purposes. However, required duties during your care and custody are not sexual abuse if they are done in a professional and appropriate way. It would not be sexual abuse if a staff member makes contact with your body during a required part of their job or exam. A staff member performing CPR would not be considered sexual abuse even if there was mouth to mouth contact. A staff member touches a sexual part of your body while breaking up a fight or conducting a pat down search during the course of their regular job duties is not sexual abuse. If a staff member exposes some skin accidentally when her or his shirt comes loose during a takedown is not sexual abuse. If a staff member or any adult happens to see you undressing during a routine cell check or during a medical examination. Now, let's talk about another right. You have the right to be free from sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is an illegal behavior, whether it is committed by youth or an adult. Unlike sexual abuse, sexual harassment does not involve touching between anyone. Sexual harassment is repeated and unwelcome sexual advances or propositions and requests for sexual favors such as begging for a kiss. Verbal sexual comments or obscene language, such as describing sex acts in detail or asking you to do the same. Comments about your body or clothing, or rude and insulting comments about someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. Gestures or actions of a sexual nature which are insulting or offensive, such as imitating masturbation in front of you. So, the bottom line is that sexual abuse and sexual harassment are never tolerated at any facility. No matter what you may have done in the past or what you have been sent here for, sexual abuse and sexual harassment are not part of the penalty. Now, we are going to talk about signs of potential future sexual abuse or sexual harassment. It is expected that everyone will be safe during their stay here. All youth and staff in this facility are expected to treat each other with respect. However, there are a few red flags or warning signs that might indicate that another youth or staff member is not trustworthy and may want something from you. Sexual abuse is not always about a violent attack. In fact, usually it is not. Abusers' actions may begin slowly with behavior that leads to abuse. Some of the signs that someone may be setting you up to be sexually abused or sexually harassed include when another youth or adult invades your personal space, like when someone stands or sits too close to you. Someone tries to convince you to do something you would not ordinarily do. Peer pressure can be very powerful and hard to resist. Another youth or staff member refuses to listen or ignores you when you set limits or boundaries. If you tell someone to leave you alone or to back off and they don't, that is a clear warning sign. Abusers may make clear threats of violence or other acts. It is not always that obvious. Abusers may trick, force, bully, or pressure someone. These behaviors may lead to sexual abuse or sexual harassment. Let's consider actions a youth may make. Be suspicious of others who offer you gifts or loans or let you borrow something. These sometimes can be used to gain leverage or favor. Do not accept money, tobacco, or anything else as a favor or present. Later on down the road, they may demand payback, and knowing that you cannot pay with money, they may demand sexual favors instead. Be suspicious of youth who encourage you to gamble in some way. This can also put you in a position where you owe something that you cannot pay. Be suspicious of youth who offer you protection from other inmates to have your back. They may want something in return. Be suspicious of youth who pressure you to break rules or join them in rule breaking or anything illegal. Be suspicious of youth who offer you drugs, alcohol, tobacco, or other contraband. If you accept contraband, they can threaten to report you. Be suspicious of youth who attempt to induct you into a gang or some other unapproved group. Be suspicious of youth who offer favors without you asking, such as letting you copy schoolwork. There are staff behaviors to watch out for too. If a staff member breaks or bends the rules or breaks the law by bringing you contraband such as drugs, alcohol, tobacco, or cell phones into the facility, that person is not doing you a favor. They are risking their job and the safety of the other staff, and they will likely expect to be paid back, possibly with sexual favors. Other staff behaviors that might be a red flag warning sign include calling you a pet name or a nickname, telling you personal information or personal secrets, telling you confidential information about other staff or youth, isolating you, or taking you to unauthorized areas or places where no one else is around, or requesting to be on your mod. If at any time you feel threatened, let a staff member know. Talk with your case manager during reviews. Talk to the nurse or the counselor working at the facility. Let a supervisor know. All of these individuals have been trained and know what actions to take. They are here to protect you. If you are the victim of any sexual misconduct, including sexual abuse or sexual harassment, or even threatened with abuse, you likely will experience many different feelings and emotions. You might feel embarrassed or ashamed. You may not want anyone to know or may not want to talk about it. You might also be afraid of your abuser, or your abuser may have threatened you with what might happen if you tell anyone. You may be afraid that word will get out and everyone will know what happened to you. You may question your own sexuality or feel guilty for not doing more to prevent the abuse or harassment. But remember, the sexual abuse or sexual harassment is never the victim's fault. Your right to safety was taken away from you. Finally, you may be afraid you will be punished by staff if you report the incident. You may wonder if whoever was on duty will get in trouble and take it out on you. Staff that commit sexual misconduct will be disciplined, and no one will be allowed to retaliate against you for any reason. We understand the feelings victims may experience, and we will always be sensitive and supportive when helping victims recover from their experience. DJJ staff is required to keep sexual misconduct confidential. Information will only be shared with those who are treating you or who are in charge of your security. You have a right to be safe. We care about your safety and well being. It may be difficult to ask for help, but we cannot help you if you do not report the abuse or harassment. So now, let's talk about making reports of sexual abuse or sexual harassment. All reports are taken seriously, and you have the right to make a report confidentially and in private. You may have to ask permission to use the telephone to make this report, but staff must allow you to call the abuse hotline. For safety reasons, this may not always be immediate and may require you to be patient. Staff may even dial the telephone for you so that you reach the correct number, but they will be required to move away and not listen. First, let's talk about the options for making a report. One way you may make a report of sexual misconduct is by telling any adult at the facility, including staff, volunteers, or contractors. Everyone at this facility is trained to receive reports, to take appropriate actions if they witness sexual abuse or sexual harassment, and to respond immediately if they learn of any threat of sexual abuse. Anytime you tell a staff member, volunteer, or contractor about your sexual abuse or sexual harassment, it is considered a formal report. You do not have to complete a report in writing or follow any formal procedure. You can simply just tell an adult. Second, you may also make a report of sexual misconduct in writing. All DJJ detention centers and residential programs have a plan in place to receive complaints. You should have been provided information on how to file these written reports. Third, reports do not have to be made in person and inside a facility. A family member, friend, or other person you trust outside the facility can make the report for you. This is called a third party report because it is not made directly by you or your abuser, but by a third person. That person can make the report for you by calling the DJJ Incident Reporting Hotline or the Florida Child Abuse Hotline. These numbers are posted throughout the facility on posters and can also be found on the DJJ website. Finally, you can call the toll-free PRIA hotline number listed on posters all around the facility. This is a lot to remember, so we have provided you with information to take with you to read later. There is also a section on the DJJ website for anyone outside the facility, like your parents or guardians, to read. Also, you can always talk to an adult at this facility and ask questions. Every incident or threat of sexual abuse or harassment is taken very seriously, and it is your right to get any medical and or mental health treatment you might need. This includes the right to free emergency medical care. Medical services might include a physical exam by a sexual assault response team at a local hospital, to collect evidence, and to provide you with care. These services also include treatment for any injuries you may have. You are also provided the right to receive medication to prevent STDs, including HIV. You will be offered pregnancy tests and comprehensive information about lawful pregnancy related medical services. Another right you have is to free mental health services. These may include talking to a mental health counselor on staff, talking to a confidential rape crisis counselor or victim advocate from the community, getting written information, and getting referrals for follow up help, including from organizations outside the facility. Medical and mental health services will be provided at no cost. You will also have reasonable, confidential communication with your attorney. If you have ever been sexually abused outside your stay here, there is help available for you. We work with the local crisis center, and you can call or write to them directly. You do not have to file a report in order to get help from them. You can also discuss your history with the mental health staff here. If you want to get medical or mental health services, but do not want to make a report or identify who abused you, you still have that right. Services are available whether or not you report the abuse. Your safety and well being is our top concern.